The California fires are showing us a lot of things. They're showing us that when rubber meets the road is the cliche, or in other words, when theory meets application, people find their inner conservative. Theory met application in California. The theory is that being loving and caring and compassionate with government money by way of having no limits on human activity. You want to rob? As long as it's less than $1,000, go rob. You want to ignore the Bible's design for biblical marriage? Go do that. You want to deny the fact that God made human beings male and female in his image? Do that. You want to hire people based upon their melanin levels and cheekbone heights or that lack thereof? Go ahead and do that. Don't value their education and their experience and their background and their abilities and their morals, just skin color. You can do that. Spend money on anything but core infrastructure. You can do that. That's theory. Theory beats application, and you have Californians who suddenly become familiar with their inner conservative. It's almost as if God's wisdom seeps into them or overcomes them. I use a nutritional supplement called Wisdom, and I don't know that I would call it nutritional necessarily. That's the classification. I would call this a mood, an immunology supplement. I would call it a wellness supplement. I would call it an awareness and calmness supplement. I would call it mental health support. It's called Wisdom, and it's a biblical-based herbal blend that I take throughout the day. I really concentrate on taking it about a couple hours before bed because of the relaxation and the calmness. I just took some now. It comes in a little dropper. My daughter puts it in her coffee. Now, I actually love the taste of this, and one of the reasons I do is because Dr. Patrick Gentempo, the guy who invented this when he was in the Holy Land, walking in the footsteps of Jesus and noticing that in the Bible, these herbs and spices are mentioned in many, many occasions in almost a sacred way. He applied scientific rigor to how this is made. So it's made in really small batches. Why does that matter? Quality control. It's cold brewed. Why does that matter? Because heat cooks the potency out of things, right? It kills some of the aspects of the healing and mental support, biological support, neurological support. And it's infused with light waves and sound waves. Why? Because that locks it in state. So that locks in even more potency. I get from this sense of calm and relaxation. I know that it's helping with my immune response. I know it's helping to harness inflammation to help your body because inflammation can be a friend. You can try this. Go to trywisdomnow.com/Todd. You get 33% off when you stock up on Wisdom. Trywisdomnow.com gets you free shipping. Trywisdomnow.com gets you a 180-day money-back guarantee. It's trywisdomnow.com/Todd. There are people in California who refuse to evacuate for many different reasons. A sheriff was talking about this, people refusing to evacuate their homes.
Heroic actions by our deputy sheriffs, police officers, or firefighters, a lot of them are taking place from people who did not choose to evacuate, putting their own lives at risk. So please, if you're asked to evacuate, because it's not only your life you're putting in danger. We continue to conduct roving patrols, manning hard road closures, providing security in evacuation areas to prevent anyone who may be tempted to engage in criminal behavior like looting. It was mentioned earlier before by the supervisor, and I'm going to make this crystal clear to everybody out there. Over last night and this morning, we are up to 20 individuals who chose to go into our areas and deprive these poor people who have been through so much of their property. Absolutely unacceptable. And I'm going to give direction to our department members. As you know, when we have an evacuation order by law, if you remain in that area, you are guilty of a misdemeanor.
So it's Sheriff Robert Luna, Los Angeles County. You've seen the videos, maybe I could have pulled some, of people guarding their own neighborhoods as I'm talking about caravans of rented cars, nice cars, SUVs, come rolling up in neighborhoods that have had evacuation orders with no intent other than to steal. Many of them have the license plates covered. That's the only reason to come out of the neighborhood. None of them live there. I watched a video, probably 50 cars came through, and citizens were standing there with cameras guarding their homes, and about 90% of the people who came through, if they had their windows down, didn't speak English or said they didn't. There are criminal cartels who take advantage of these things and maybe start these things. There's some evidence that people are starting fires. There's actually a lot of evidence that a lot of people started fires, but there's no evidence at this point that it was the criminal cartels who said, hey, let's start all the fires. Absolutely taking advantage of it. So some people didn't leave. California residents won't evacuate wildfires because of looters. Wild West. That was published by the liberal media. Hundreds of looters invade Palisades' home. Cars pour up, doors open, groups of men are running up to the doors of evacuated houses. There were 100 people who came up on scooters and were trying to get into any and all houses. That's come from Citizens Free Press. CBS News. 3 Humvees stolen from United States Army Center. 3 Humvees from the Army. So the actual media is reporting some of these things. CBS News is fascinated that it was from the military, and that is a fascinating aspect to this. Theory meets application. Wait, we've been incredibly kind. Wait, we let people stay illegally. Why would they steal from us? And again, just judging from these videos, the people who spoke didn't speak English. And again, judging from the videos, most of them appeared to be Hispanic. Judging by the arrest photos, mugshots, most of them appear to be Hispanic. Does that mean Hispanic people steal? No, it means they did. But it also means there are cartels who have a focused opportunity or a focused drive to take advantage of this opportunity. So people didn't leave. But they met their inner conservatives doing it on their own. Self-sufficiency. Understanding that a government strong enough to give you everything you want is also strong enough to take everything you have. A government weak enough to give in to DEI, hiring based upon skin color and cheekbone height, is weak enough to allow crises like this to occur. So there were people who did stay behind. This guy decided to stay behind with he and his garden hose. Watch this.
My mother and father in 1960, and I lived here my whole life, so there's a lot of memories here, and I think I owed it to them as well to try my best to save it. But some things in life are worth fighting for. I mean, if I were to lose this house, it would be very difficult to afford to be able to build a new house, to pay the enormous property taxes they have here. What would I do? When I was out here hosing the house down and getting ready, and when the houses started to burn, I didn't see one single fire truck out here at all. Zero. If they had some fire trucks, just put a squirt here, a squirt there, and kept an eye on things, all these houses would be here now. I'm telling you right now, I saw it with my own eyeballs. All these houses. The houses behind me, they're all gone. They started with one little spark, one little small fire. They just squirted those out, had a few people out there. They'd all be here now. I did what I needed to do. I did what I wanted to do. I did what I thought I could do, and that's what I did.
Conservative doesn't mean no government. It means focused government. It means government protecting life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, caring for the common defense. It doesn't mean government giving money to this or that racial group or this or that sexual pressure group, or this or that sexual exploitation group. That's not what it means. It also means a recognition that you are your own governor. God gave that man property to steward. He may not know God gave it to him or allowed him to have it, but he does. Part of stewarding it is being able to defend it. All across California, though, we see outrage at guys like that. Literally, you read some of the comments below YouTube stories for this, and you see people saying, oh, good for you. Did you spray your neighbor's house? Maybe he was busy trying to save his. Maybe neighbors stayed behind. But there were countless examples of this. I could do 5, 10 more examples of this. But let's take a counterexample. Karen Bass, the disgraced, radical Marxist, so-called mayor, was in Ghana, which is bad enough. All the fires broke out. She didn't immediately fly home. But now there's pictures that have surfaced of her happily enjoying some cocktails, getting her booze on. Glenn Beck has reported about her connection to the 1983 bombing of the United States Senate. The chambers outside of the Senate offices. The bomb was planted and went off. It blew up. That's the second worst day in the history of insurrections. Of course, January 6th being far worse than that because some people came in with signs. So Karen Bass is that human being, radical Marxist, according to Glenn Beck, connected to these bombings, the bombing in the Senate. She was also on the short list to be the vice presidential pick for figurehead Biden because she's black and whatever a woman is. Barack Hussein Obama spoke glowingly about Karen Bass.
I'm confident you're going to be an outstanding mayor of LA.
Oh, thank you so much.
You know, but as you know, you got to run through the tape.
Exactly.
So you got a little more work to do.
I got to run through that
Exactly.
tape.
But I'm really proud of you and grateful for your friendship. More importantly, grateful for the service you've rendered all these years and all the stuff you're going to do in the future.
Well, thank you so much. Your support means the world to me, and it means the world of Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Love you.
So good. I love you
Okay.
too.
Bye-bye.
I feel so good about that because none of it was staged. Incidentally, Obama recording himself on his phone and her responding appeared to be shot separately. Just reading their lines, acting. So the inner conservative comes out, Los Angeles. People recognizing that dependence on government will get you killed. You're far better off depending on yourself to begin with and having government as an adjunct. There are people who will continue to contend that government nails things, gets them taken care of. Ladies and gentlemen, a guy who has massive fire suppression technologies in his home, I almost guarantee it. I know he's got security crews. I know that he had standing offers when he was building his property in Mercer Island in Seattle. I know that in the Seattle area, I know that Bill Gates had a standing offer to buy your house. I know he ended up buying 7 properties at one point. It's probably 10 now. I know that 3/4 of his home is built into a hillside. It's largely invisible from the water. I know that they have patrol submarines. I know that he's got former Navy SEALs and Delta crew members who are guarding the house. I know he's got that all taken care of for himself. But he wants us to believe that, well, Bill Gates talking about government's proper role.
Nobody, I would say, gets an A on this one. Sadly, epidemics come along so rarely that it's easy to be incompetent. You know, earthquakes, fires, they come more often, storms. And so governments, you know, they're pretty good on fires.
That was in January 2023. Bill Gates, the keeper of all knowledge, a guy who does not recognize the wisdom of God. Imagine that.